everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allison with Baby Stepping to Freedom. I'm going to talk about some debt-free lingo today. So I know that there's lots of terms that are thrown around on my channel or on Instagram or on other people's channels, and I realized that they are kind of like debt-free lingo that maybe the common person doesn't know what it means. So those of us who have been a part of the community for a while and know kind of how all this works, a lot of these terms just seem like common knowledge to us, but I realized that people who are just getting into this or are learning about kind of paying off debt and what that looks like, watching these videos, there might be a lot of terms that you have no idea what they mean. So what I'm gonna do today is go through all of the terms that I could think of. I asked for suggestions on Instagram of terms that people could think of that maybe not everybody knows, and I'm just gonna lay them out. So there's tons of terms, there's tons of definitions, there's tons of abbreviations, and they can all sound similar, they can all maybe have similar meanings, be confusing. So what I'm gonna do is talk about each term, have the definition pop up here as I'm talking about it, and hopefully this helps you kind of understand some debt-free lingo. So a lot of these terms are Dave Ramsey terms. So as you probably know from my channel, I am a follower of Dave Ramsey, and so a lot of these terms are kind of based on things that he talks about, things that he teaches, or kind of some like slang terms that he uses on his podcast. But then there are also terms that have come up through the community of people on Instagram and YouTube that kind of have come up with terms for things or abbreviation for things that fit this whole journey. So some of these terms like aren't even real things. They're just like lingo that people have made up and has caught on and people use it. So if you're new to the kind of debt-free world, then this might all be new to you. It's important to remember while going through all of these terms that the definition might vary person to person. This is just kind of my definition and my understanding of these terms, but you might ask someone else and they might have a different definition of it. So just keep that in mind. Definitions vary. There's not like a dictionary of debt-free terms. This is just kind of what I came up with and my understanding. One last thing before I get into the lingo, as you're watching, if you see a little lowercase I pop up here and a word or a title that pops up here that says like, watch this video, that's me linking to a video that I have done that has to do with that term. So it might be something that we experienced, or I do have a lot of videos on my channel that already talk about all of these terms. This is just the condensed video of all of the terms together. So if you want to hear about our experience with some of these things or more information about these different areas of a debt-free journey, then check this area out up here. So let's get started. A few terms I have already used as I was doing this little intro here. The first one that I just used was debt-free journey. A debt-free journey, or DFJ, is the journey that someone is on as they're paying off debt. Pretty simple. If you see DFJ, that's debt-free journey or journey to paying off debt. DFC, or debt-free community, is the community of people on Instagram, YouTube, blogs, Facebook, all the social media sites of people who have kind of teamed up together as they are paying off debt or working on their financial freedom. The real debt-free community, well, I guess it's not real, but debt-free community as a thing started on Instagram through Debt-Free and Sunny CA. She kind of came up with the name of the community of people, and it has just caught on. There's over 600,000 posts on Instagram using the hashtag debt-free community, and it has just taken off. So you can look up debt-free community on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. All the places have debt-free community people who are all working on very similar goals. The debt snowball is paying off your debts from smallest to largest. This is the strategy that Dave Ramsey recommends. You list your debts starting from smallest, ending at largest, and that is how you pay off your debts. The debt avalanche is listing your debts from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate and paying it off in that way, from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. So you're kicking out the debts that have higher interest rates first and ending with the lower interest rates. The BS1 or BS2, also known as the baby steps, is a Dave Ramsey term for the 7 steps to financial independence. So you might see BS1, that's baby step 1, BS2, that's baby step 2. You get the idea. Through BS7, there are 7 baby steps that Dave Ramsey teaches. FIRE, or F-I-R-E, is Financial Independence Retire Early. That is another plan towards financial freedom that a lot of people in the debt-free community follow. I don't really know a whole lot about the FIRE movement other than it's generally about living below your means, paying off your debts, and working towards financial freedom. I'll link some people down below who primarily do the FIRE movement so you can learn more about that through their channels. A snowflake. A snowflake is a small payment that you make towards debt or towards saving over time. Snowflakes add up to a snowball or a snowstorm or anything like that. So a snowflake is just a small little payment that over time adds up to more. A side hustle is anything you do on the side that brings in extra money. A side hustle could be a second job. A side hustle could be selling stuff around your house. A side hustle can be making a new business. Anything that brings in extra money on the side is a side hustle. A sinking fund is a mini savings account on the side that you slowly contribute money to in order to save for something. So common sinking funds would be car maintenance, home maintenance, Christmas, anything like that that you know is coming, so you're saving for over time so it's not one big expense. Cash flow means paying for something with cash in the moment. So cash flow can be used when you're referring to sinking funds, like we cash flowed through a sinking fund, or cash flow could be like something came up in the month and we were able to fit it into our budget to pay for it in cash. So cash flow is kind of versatile and be used in multiple different ways. An emergency fund, or EF, is saving money for an emergency. A fully funded emergency fund, or FFEF, is an emergency fund that is meant for long-term use. So a pretty common amount of time that you will see an emergency fund being saved up for is 3 to 6 months. So that's kind of Dave Ramsey's suggestion, is that you're saving up for 3 to 6 months of expenses. So when someone has, let's say, a 5-month emergency fund, they'll call that their fully funded emergency fund. That means they have money set aside that they could survive for 5 months without income. Gazelle Intense is another Dave Ramsey term that just means you are hyper-focused on a goal. That's what my gazelle is for back here. So you are saying, I am focused on this item like a lion chasing a gazelle. They are focused on that one thing, and that is to eat the gazelle. Or the gazelle is focused on escaping the lion. And when you're gazelle intense on your debt-free journey, you are focused on the one thing of getting out of debt. A budget is writing down your expenses, your income, what you spend your money on, so you know where your money is going. A zero-based budget is a budget that leaves you zero money unaccounted for. That does not mean that you have $0 in your bank account. That means that every dollar that you earn, every bit of income has a purpose, whether that purpose is a buffer, extra money in your bank account so you don't go down to zero, or sending money to debt. It just means that every dollar that you earn has a purpose and nothing is unaccounted for. Your 4 walls are the root of your financial stability. This is clothing, food, transportation, and shelter. So that means when you are starting to figure out your financial situation and you're like, I don't even know if I have enough money to pay the bills, the 4 things you need to focus on, your 4 walls: clothing, food, transportation, and shelter. Those are your 4 walls, the first thing that you need to make sure that you have money for. A Dave car. This is somewhat of a controversial term because depending on the person, they might have a different definition. So lots of people refer to a Dave car as like a beater car, something that you drive on your debt-free journey that's like kind of a crappy car. But Dave Ramsey says that a Dave car is a nice fancy car that you buy with cash after you are paid off. So sometimes people might refer to a nice cash flowed car as a Dave car. Sometimes people might refer to a beater that is just barely running as a Dave car. So if it's like a BMW that's brand new, then that's this Dave car. If it's like a 98 Honda Civic, that's like this Dave car. You get what I'm saying? Blow money or personal money is just money that you have budgeted for whatever you want to use it for. I like the term personal money better than blow money. I don't really like the term blow money. It just seems a little odd to me. But basically, they're the same thing. You're using money for whatever it is. So maybe you have $20 a month that you can use for whatever you want, or you have $100 a month that you can use for whatever you want. That is blow money or personal money. Your shovel is the amount of money that you can send to debt. You might have a big shovel where you can send a lot of money to debt because your income is high and your bills are low, or you might be Team Tiny Shovel, where you have a lower income and more expenses, or you have a higher income and high expenses and you just can't make as big of a debt. So Team Tiny Shovel is that group of people who just aren't able to make huge dents in their debt. Murphy is another Dave Ramsey term, and it's based on Murphy's Law, which basically is if something bad can happen, it will happen. So a lot of people refer to Murphy as like a person, like Murphy moved in. Dave Ramsey often talks about Murphy moving into your spare bedroom, basically meaning that if you're not set up for emergencies or bad things to happen through having an emergency fund, then every little thing feels like an emergency. So when our car motor died and we were in the middle of our debt-free journey, that was a visit from Murphy, meaning we were not prepared for that. We had to figure it out. But if our car engine died now, after we've become debt-free and we have somewhat of an emergency fund saved up, it wouldn't be quite as big of a deal. So Murphy is basically just bad things happening. Rice and beans is Dave Ramsey's term for basically eating cheap food, living on much less than you make, and just being as simple as possible. Some people will say rice and beans, beans and rice, meaning like you're just making your food or household expenses as inexpensive as possible. Last but not least, live like no one else, or LLNOE, is another Dave Ramsey term, which basically just means you're making sacrifices that other people aren't making. The way that you're living is not like how other people are living. You're living like no one else. So later, you can live like no one else, meaning the sacrifices you make now will change your future. The people who are like living it up and spending all this money and buying all the nice things now, long term, aren't really setting themselves up for success. So now, if you don't live like everyone else, in the future, you can live like no one else. You've set yourself up for success, so you don't have to scrimp in your retirement. You can do whatever you want because you made sacrifices early on. So there we have it, debt-free lingo, fast, lightning debt-free lingo. I'm sure I forgot something. If I missed some debt-free lingo, let me know down below. Tell me what I missed and tell me what it means so other people can look through the comments and see what was missed. While you're down there, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you press that red subscribe button so you don't miss new videos coming out very soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for participating in my debt-free lingo breakdown, and I will see you next time. Bye.